to Silly Science with Sierra. Today we're going to be doing a bit of a silly science with two things you can find pretty easily in winter, salt and ice. In winter, people commonly put salt on winter roads to melt the ice. But why? And how does that even work? Today we're going to be exploring the reaction between salt and ice by making one of my favorite foods, ice cream.
Silly Science with Sierra.
Today I have a very special guest and also a very good friend of mine who will be joining us for our experiment today. Please welcome Aoife. Hi, Aoife.
Hi, Sierra. I'm excited to make ice cream today. How are you?
I'm doing really good, feeling a little silly. I'm glad that you're excited to make ice cream and also helping us for the experiment today. So, you want to help me make a hypothesis?
Sure.
All right. So, I'm planning on making 2 bags of ice cream. One bag will be made with salt and ice, and the other bag will be made with just ice. So what do you think will happen to the ice cream in the bag with ice and salt, and what do you think will happen to the ice cream in the bag with just ice?
My hypothesis is that if you mix salt and ice in the first bag, the salt will melt the ice and the milk won't freeze because the ice has melted and it's not cold enough to freeze the milk. For the other bag, I think if you don't add the salt, the ice will freeze the milk because the ice hasn't melted and it'll be cold enough to make ice cream.
You know, that's a great hypothesis. So my hypothesis is that if I mix the salt and ice in the first bag, then the salt will melt the ice and the milk will freeze because the ice will be so cold it will make ice cream. For the other bag of just ice, if I don't add any salt, the ice will not melt and the milk won't freeze because the ice isn't cold enough to make ice cream.
That's also a great hypothesis.
Thanks. And before we start, remember to always do silly science with adult supervision. So let's get started.
Woo.
For this experiment, you'll need the following materials: sugar, milk, salt, measuring cups, measuring spoons, 2 gallon-sized resealable bags, small resealable bags, 4 of those. We'll need some vanilla extract, some mittens or towels, and then since I like mint chocolate chip ice cream, I'm going to be using some chocolate and peppermint extract. Start by adding 1 tablespoon of sugar into each of the baggies. Then add half a cup of half and half milk or heavy whipping cream into each bag. Next, add 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract to each. Since I'm going to be making mint chocolate chip, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of chocolate and 1/4 teaspoon of peppermint extract. Make sure to seal both bags well. I suggest double bagging in case the bag rips open while we're shaking. Then add 4 cups of ice cubes to each of the large gallon-sized bags. Next, add half a cup of salt to only one of the bags. Make sure it's labeled ice and salt so we know which is which. Place each small bag with the ice cream mixture into each large bag full of ice cubes. Make sure all the bags are sealed shut. Wrap the bag in a towel and set a timer for 5 minutes. Now it's time to start shaking. Wow, this bag is freezing. Let's see. This ice cream has to be done. How about yours?
Well, this doesn't feel as cold as yours. Let me see our ice cream.
Is it done?
No.
Oh, no. That's okay. This one looks done. Want to try some?
Yeah, that looks delicious. Let's try some. This ice cream is amazing. But Sierra, I'm kind of confused about something.
What?
Why was the bag with salt colder than the one without salt? The ice in the bag melted. Doesn't that mean it would have to be warmer?
Yeah, that's a great question, Aoife. So when you add salt to ice, it actually lowers the freezing point of the water.
Oh, so instead of the water freezing at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, it would have to be colder than that to freeze?
Exactly. So in this case, the new freezing point is closer to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Not only does it lower the freezing point, it also makes it harder for the water to keep its rigid shape in the form of ice. So the ice melts.
Oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense for why people would put salt on the road to melt ice.
Yeah.
But if the ice is melting, why is it cold enough to freeze the milk into ice cream?
That's also a great question. So the process of ice melting is an example of what's called an endothermic reaction. Basically, that means that the ice is absorbing the heat from the surrounding environment while it's melting. This leaves the area around the ice very, very cold enough to make ice cream. So Aoife, was your hypothesis correct?
Well, not exactly. The ice cream made with salt and ice froze when the ice cream that was just made with the ice didn't freeze. The milk stayed liquid. So my hypothesis was incorrect, but that's okay, right?
Of course, your hypothesis does not always have to be correct. It's just your best educated guess as to what will happen. Even some of my hypotheses have been wrong, and that's okay. That's how we learn.
Well, I'm glad that your hypothesis was correct, and we got to eat ice cream. Also, it was really cool learning about how ice and salt react with one another. The only thing is dumping a bunch of salt on our roads bad for the environment?
You know, that's a really good point. As the ice melts, the dissolved salt can run off the roadways and into drainage ditches and other surrounding bodies of water. This can make the water saltier and harm the plants and animals that live in that water.
So, should we be dumping salt on our roads?
Well, in the wintertime, it does help to melt the ice on the roads, and that allows people to drive more safely in the winter.
Okay, I understand. So although salt does have your environmental issues, it is still the most used and affordable way for keeping our roads safe during the wintertime. So, can I use the same salt in my dinner?
Oh, Eva. Well, that's all the time we have for today. At the end of each episode, I always share a silly science joke. Today's silly science joke is, how do scientists freshen their breath?
I don't know.
Experiments! Thanks for joining us for Silly Science with Sierra.
Bye.
See you later.
Silly science, silly science, silly science.